And a hello to everyone. I'm Mike Martinego of SportMedBC. We're so glad you could join us for another edition in our SportSmart Webinar series. Our webinar today on nutrition for athletes, obviously a big and important topic for those who are active. In all, this is SportSmart Webinar number 5. Just some background on SportSmart, as it's an injury prevention and performance initiative put together by SportMedBC and funded through the Public Health Agency of Canada's Active and Safe grant. We've conducted 25 workshops all across British Columbia, connecting with over 600 people. We started up in late August of 2012 and now deep into March 2013 as we roll on. We also provide plenty of resources, tips and tools and videos, and of course, just like this evening, a webinar through our free sport safety network at SportMedBC.com. So let's get into this fifth webinar of the program. It's titled Best Practices Nutrition for Athletes. Just before I throw it over to our sports safety coordinator and presenter, Seb Hartell, I do want to mention, if you have any questions or comments, any feedback, we'll try our best to answer to it throughout the webinar. If we do not, we do have your information, so Seb will get in touch with you afterwards if that is the case. There is a toolbar on the right-hand side that allows you to send us questions and comments. As well, this webinar will be posted in our safety network and our YouTube channel within the next 48 hours or so, so be sure to sign up for the free network and check out the webinar again in case you have missed anything. But for now, I'll pass it over to SportMedBC Safety Coordinator Seb Hartell, who takes us through best practices nutrition for athletes. Seb?
All right, hi everyone, and thanks again for joining in. Very excited to talk to you guys about nutrition, and so it's a very big and vague subject, but we're going to try and pare it down and keep it basic, but give you guys the importance of nutrition for athletes. And so when talking about nutrition for athletes, we have really two big dilemmas, and it's really people just want to know what to eat and when to eat it. And so that's what we're going to try and present to you guys tonight and answer those questions. So on the agenda tonight, I'm going to introduce a little bit of stuff about nutrition. Then we're going to talk about where the body gets our energy from, so when to eat it as well. We'll talk about a couple of specifics in terms of calcium, iron. We'll go into recovery about carbohydrates and proteins. Then we'll go specifically into chocolate milk versus regular milk, hydration, energy drinks, and just some of the common questions that we get around today. As an introduction, so when choosing the right foods, fluids, and supplements can really help an athlete perform at their best. We need to know that nutrition is really our primary source for energy and fuel for our body, for our muscles, for our neural system and everything. So just the foundation of how we work. And so nutrition really helps us optimize performance and recovery when used properly. So we'll give you guys some tips tonight to try and go over how to effectively use nutrition and positively to help out with your performance. So as human beings, our three main energy sources when dealing with nutrition are carbohydrates, carbs, which include sugar, starch, and fiber, proteins, which are really those building blocks for the tissue and muscles, and then fats. And so there's three kinds of fats: unsaturated, saturated, and trans, and unsaturated being the best kind. And a lot of the common derivatives of fats are nuts, seeds, and then their oils, and then some of the fish, like listed up there on the screen. So importantly, when playing sports and when being active and exercising, we need to know that the energy that we're using, where did it come from? So when did, the energy that we're using now, when did we store this? And so it's pretty important to know this. And so to know that in the early morning, if you're exercising, to know that the best energy or your energy is coming from the dinner from the previous evening and pre-bedtime snack, or your very small breakfast, depending on what time you ate. In the late morning, you're really getting your energy from your early breakfast to mid-morning snack. Afternoon, you're getting your energy from your lunch, and the evening is really from your lunch and afternoon snack as well. So that takes into keys as to kind of when to eat. So that's where I want to talk to you guys next about. Sorry, just nowhere in here. 1 second here. Sorry guys, just one. Okay, can you guys hear me? Sorry, just a little technical problem there. All right, so just about when to eat. So before you're going to exercise, so before a game, a match, or an intense practice, what you want to do is you want to eat approximately your meal 2 to 3 hours prior to the event. That gives you some good digestion time to avoid cramping and overeating. If that's not enough, if you're feeling hungry before or after your meal, before your activity, usually a good snack an hour to 2 hours before is a good timing as well. During your exercise, you want to drink and eat every 10 or 15 to 20 minutes during exercise, just to continue to keep those fluids up, keep the energy stores up. Some good examples would be water, some sports drinks, and then in terms of meals or food, pretzels, granola, those little cereal bars and stuff are good examples as well. And then after the exercise, and so we'll go into this a lot about recovery in a couple of slides here, but what's really important is during that first hour, there's a great window to really recover, but you're also going to need to watch your nutrition for the next 6 hours after exercise. Looking specifically at what to eat, and so we'll talk about certain nutrients that are very important and essential in terms of nutrition for athletes. And so specifically the first one being calcium. And so calcium is required in the body for formation of bones. It's essential for nerve function, muscle contraction and relaxation. So if you think about every time you contract and decontract the muscle, you're using calcium involved in there. And calcium is also involved in hormonal regulation. So it plays a big part in our body. So just to know that inadequate calcium intake may compromise, peak bone mass and increase risk of osteoporosis. So making sure that we're getting lots of calcium in there is definitely very important. Some good sources of calcium would be milk, yogurt, cheese, really that dairy category, the pretty obvious one. But also really important is those leafy green vegetables, and especially for those people who are lactose intolerant or not, big fans of dairy, that's a good secondary option. If not, also looking at calcium fortified juices and foods, also very important too. If you guys haven't gotten into the kale game, I definitely recommend it. Kale chips are a big part of my staple, my athletic diet now, and I'm loving it. It's been a huge change and a big game changer. So look up a kale recipe online. Very easy to make and very, very hearty and delicious too. Iron is also one of those other important nutrients, and so the reason why iron is important is because it carries oxygen around the body, gets to those muscles. It also promotes an efficient immune system, and really helps you regulate the stress that's brought onto you from exercise. It's also involved in energy production, which is very important, and then it also helps you develop and maintain normal brain function, which pretty obvious to me is pretty important. Some good sources of iron would include red meat, some dark meat in the chicken or turkey, salmon, tuna, or again, iron-fortified cereal. If you guys are all hungry right now, I'm sure those pictures of steak and salmon, barbecue salmon and steak are making your mouths water like they are mine right now. But also very important to know that if you're having issues with iron, to not only consider that the foods you're taking, but also maybe it's in the absorption of the iron. And so vitamin C will really help with iron absorption. Eating foods like oranges, tomatoes, berries, and broccoli will help the body really digest and absorb those irons that you're having in those foods. So now we want to talk about recovery. And so post-activity, why it's really important to eat the proper food and really have a good nutritional habit, because after eating or after exercise, nutrition really helps in refueling the muscle and liver glycogen stores, basically those energy stores. Also helps replace fluid and electrolyte lost in the sweat that you're giving out during exercise. Also helps you manufacture new muscle proteins, red blood cells, and other cellular components. So it really helps you build more muscle, repair tissue afterwards as well. And then just again enhances that immune system to handle the damage and challenges that were caused by exercise. And I can really stress this for those long distance stuff, like the 10K, the half marathon runs. Your body really will take that shock, especially to the immune system. So in terms of recovery, a couple things that we want to do. And so the first one is really replenishing those glycogen stores. And so those are also considered the carbohydrates. And so what you want to do is consume about 1 to 1.2 grams of carbohydrates per kilogram of body weight within the first hour after exercise. So I can't stress enough about this first hour, because that's really when the rates of glycogen synthesis are at their greatest. Your body is just ready to absorb and really digest those properly. So it's a really key time to get involved. The timing, that first hour afterwards may be less urgent for those athletes who rest for more than one day between events and who are getting enough carbohydrates daily. I mean, if you're on top of the game and doing well, then this first hour really isn't as important, but really for the general population to say that our habits stereotypically aren't all that great right now. So this is a very key hour for the general population. Some examples of some carb-rich snacks, if you're looking for some, 700 to 800 milliliters of sports drinks, sports gels, fruit juice, a couple of other examples up there. I'm including slices of bread or toast with jam, honey, or bananas, some cereal bars, a cup of thick vegetable soup, and a large bread roll. Those cake-style muffins, fruit buns, or scones, or even a baked potato with some salsa filling are some good examples of to get in those carbs after exercise. It's also really recommended to also digest and absorb some protein after exercise as well. And so this is really to enhance tissue repair, muscle growth, and regeneration. Ideally, we would recommend daily protein intake for approximately 1.2 to 1.7 kilograms or grams per kilogram of body weight per day. These higher protein intakes may be particularly important during the early phases of strength training programs. So if you're really just getting into it, that's where your muscle is going to get, or that's where your body is really going to build that muscle early on. So that's where it's really important. Also important to know that the recommendations I just gave you in terms of protein, they don't really work in a linear state. So at some point, if you're trying to have too much, there's a limit that your body can absorb. So if you're trying to go for too much, it's really just going to get oxidized and turn into fat. So you really want to, again, stay within those limits that I mentioned before. Some good examples of protein. I'm not going to necessarily go over all of them there, but in terms of the meats, you're looking at your cooked lean meat, beef, pork, lamb, your skinless cooked chicken breast, that can of tuna, salmon or cooked fish, yogurt, flavored milk, which would be more particularly chocolate milk, some cheese, eggs, tofu are all good examples of protein replenishers after a meal. Or after exercise, sorry. The best way and most efficient way to really get those to really challenge that recovery is through the co-ingestion of carbs and protein. So really combining both efforts at once after exercise. And so within that first hour of exercise, if you're targeting both carbs and proteins, you're really increasing the efficiency by 2 to 4 times, which is pretty crucial to me. So again, some combo nutrients out there, combo snacks out there would be, a liquid meal supplement, creamed rice, milkshake or fruit smoothie is probably the most popular one out there. Low-fat flavored milk, again, chocolate milk being the most popular as well. Some sports bars, some cups of breakfast cereal and milk, baked beans and toast, just to go on through that list again. So in terms of vitamin and mineral supplements, I get a lot of questions about these, and so really what's recommended is, if you're following a good, proper, balanced diet, these aren't necessarily that important for you, and they aren't, you're kind of throwing your money away. But where it's really important is for athletes who may restrict their energy intake, use a severe weight loss practice. I mean, you look at athletes who are trying to make weight and cut weight before certain fights or whatever their sport might require. But also when you're talking about to athletes who eliminate one or more food groups from a diet, and this includes, vegetarianism, allergies, or for personal reasons, and just people who consume unbalanced diets. And so if you're missing some of those target goals, some of those target nutrients that we've talked about tonight, that's where you really want to fit in those vitamins and mineral supplements. Another very, very popular question I get all the time, or a very common question, is about chocolate milk. And so you've gotten a lot of these, ads talking about refueling with chocolate milk, and is it really worth it? And a lot of people are worried about the sugar content and stuff like that. But really, the reason chocolate milk is so good is that you're combining the sugar content from the chocolate milk as well as the proteins, as mentioned before, when you're getting that co-ingestion of proteins and carbs. And so that's why chocolate milk really offers that positive balance. And really allows you to refuel those exhausted muscles and rehydrate through not only the fluids and the electrolytes, but also gets you that protein content as well. So that's why chocolate milk has been considered to be a very, very good source. Obviously to be avoided if you have an intolerance or sensitivity to dairy. And again, so that chocolate milk would be very crucial to have within that first hour after exercise as well. So that's kind of your best plan there. In terms of hydration, so this is something that's very debated over the years, and so really though what's going on and what's really important though is you should weigh yourself before and after exercise, and that's really the weight that you're going to lose during exercise. Your weight loss goals shouldn't be that immediate, and so by looking at, oh, I lost 2 pounds after this exercise, that might not, that's not the ideal 2 pounds that you're trying to lose. You're trying to lose about a pound a week and stuff. So the weight that you're losing immediately after exercise needs to be replenished to make sure that your body's working properly. And so what you should be doing after exercise is really consuming about 125%, 150% of the fluid loss within the next 4 to 6 hours. And so you want to continue to drink more than just 100%. You want to go yourself over top because your body's going to continue to still use some of that fluid once you're done exercising. So definitely very important. Also know that drinking drinks with sodium in it, so that's why those Gatorade drinks work well, because of it helps with the fluid retention, so really helping you keep those nutrients inside and keep the water inside. So to just drink, if you just go with a lot of water with no sodium or any of the electrolytes combined with it, you're just going to eventually pass it through really quickly and not absorb it efficiently enough. Also to consider though is you want to focus on the time before your next activity. So if you're playing in a tournament, you want to make sure that you're hydrating enough before your next game, but also not too much. So you don't want to necessarily be pounding back 2 liters of water before your next activity if you're only playing in half an hour. So definitely consider that. Also consider weather conditions. If you're about to do a half marathon outside in August and 20-something degree weather, I would definitely start to ramp it up a little bit more, as you're going to probably tend to lose a little bit more than usual. There's definitely been a lot of questions people ask me about coconut water lately, and so there have been some trials that found that coconut water is effective as a sports drink for rehydration, especially when that coconut water is enriched with sodium, just to kind of mention like we did before. When talking about fatigue and tiredness after an exercise, and so you've been exercising you went to the gym afterwards, you're feeling really drained. Usually this happens because you've depleted your iron stores, you've used up your energy, so your glycogen has been depleted from the activity, which is completely normal, but then you're also not having enough protein intake. And so oftentimes after exercise, the best solution would be just to properly rest. You're tired, you worked out, take a little bit of a break, your body needs to catch back up. But you also want to maintain that you have that healthy diet, and you are using those recovery tools in terms of whether it be the chocolate milk or using the co-ingestion of carbs and protein. Very, very important. I get a lot of questions as well about energy drinks, and I am not a big fan of them, whether it be Red Bull or any of those brand names out there, and for a few reasons. And so energy drinks can potentially impair hydration, and so if you're having too much sugar inside, you're really impairing that fluid absorption. You're really delaying that rehydration. So by having those energy drinks, you may feel like you're getting hydrated, but you're actually ridding your muscle, or you're preventing your body from really getting that hydration back. You might get that wake-up buzz, but it's really short-lived, and you're actually probably going to be followed by a long period of crash and burn, which is kind of not something you really want these days. You can also have a laxative effect in some people with energy drinks, and so having to go to the washroom immediately, and so again that's delaying your hydration and rehydration. Also, those sugar-free energy drinks still contain a number of artificial ingredients that shouldn't be consumed on a regular basis. So as much as sugar-free, they're trying to advertise to you that it's great, in my opinion, it's still not something that you should be really doing regularly. Also worth noting, so people, high-level athletes who are getting tested for drug testing, certain energy drinks may be tainted with prohibited substances or raw herbs, which can lead to a positive dope test. And so as much as, just be careful if you're going to take some of these energy drinks and you are in a position to be tested. It's definitely something to consider. So just in conclusion, guys, the biggest thing for me is not necessarily the percentages of proteins, fats, and carbs. Yes, they are important, but you really want to focus on the sources, and so you want to make sure that you're getting your proteins, your fats, and your carbs as well. And so for me, the type of carbs that you would get from a fettuccine Alfredo isn't necessarily as good as you would get from roasted vegetables, and the fats that you would get from a steak or chicken breast is not the same that you would get or is clearly better than you would get from, let's say, a McDonald's Big Mac combo or something like that. So the sources are definitely very, very important. Since everyone's different, I try and just give some general comments back here because everyone's different, so you really got to find what works for you. For some people, they might find that steak is the best supplement or the best protein coming back, and some other people might say it's more of a dark meat or chicken breast. Definitely listen to your body in terms of nutrition and find something that works for you. If you're finding that you're just crashing and burning after you eat, if you're eating these meals that what some person might do with pasta, the next person, they'll probably fall asleep right after the meal after having some spaghetti or something like that. So listen to your body. You shouldn't be having these huge waves and ups and downs and crashes with nutrition. It should keep you pretty even keel. So once you find something that works, listen to your body and keep going with that. Hydration, again, is very key. Muscles that aren't hydrated properly are going to cramp and stiffen up and lead to potentially more injuries. So very, very important in that sense to make sure that you're rehydrating after activity and also doing a little bit more than what you've lost. And so the technique of the weighing yourself before and after is very, very efficient. Very common practice in sport these days as well. And so making sure that you're still drinking a little bit more than you were expending is very, very important. I also think that snacking is very important too. And so, instead of just trying to compress all your food into these big meals 3 times a day, don't forget, snacking is a good way to make sure that your energy levels aren't dropping throughout the day, they're staying even keel, and that you're ready to present at, ready to go during any activity. So very important snacking. Myself, I carry around nuts, almonds a lot, also trail mix or fruit salad as well are kind of my 3 go-tos in terms of snacks throughout the day. Those help me kind of keep my same energy throughout the day and also be prepared for sports at all time. But also being prepared and then proper planning is important. So this is especially for parents as well. So, for parents it's important to plan these good meals around your child's activity stages, and even for yourself, as an athlete, but really making sure that you're planning out well, you're having those meals prepared properly, you're really making sure that you're getting all those 3 categories of energies from proper sources is definitely very important. That being said, guys, I appreciate your time, and I'm going to pass you back to Mike just before we go. And so if you have any questions, feel free to email me or be in touch with me, and we can discuss nutrition a lot further. So thanks, and have a great night, everyone.
And thanks again, Seb. Thanks to everyone for tuning in, passing along their thoughts for various tips and tools, resources, information, how to host a workshop, so much more. You can sign up for the free safety network at SportMedBC.com. As I mentioned before, the webinar will be posted in that network within the next 48 hours or so. Seb can be reached at SebH, S-E-B-H, at SportMedBC.com. You can also find him on Twitter at Seb Hartell, H-A-R-T-E-L-L. There's various social media channels, as you can see on the screen there. You can follow SportMedBC on Facebook and on Twitter. Our next webinar will be in early May, and that will be on shoulder injuries. We got April there, but we'll go with May. Early May of 2013. Be sure to check back for information and updates through our website and various social media channels, and that includes Facebook, Twitter, and again, as mentioned, on YouTube. All these webinars are on. Number 5 here will be up in the next 48 hours. The first 4 are on YouTube as well. Thanks again for Seb Hartell. I'm Mike Martinego. Thanks for checking out the SportSmart Webinar.